All right, so Jaimashiki, my name, or Naperu Yena. So instead of so anyways, our team went to South India, and this was my first time in South India. So this was in Telangana. And in the beginning, I really had no heart to sign up. So I was like, I already did this, with Joseph Kim. I was like, I'm not gonna do this again. I'll just be an intercessor for them, and I'll just, let the other teams do it. But then my mom, she was in the Zoom mission, and she actually, the next day, she came to me and she was like, wow, Yena, do you know what God has been doing in India through Zoom? And I was like, I don't really know, but you could tell me, So she was like, so many people, am I speaking too loud? So many people accepted Jesus, and so many people had so many different testimonies. She talked about how there was a man who was crippled and he couldn't walk. And as soon as they prayed for them through the Zoom, he started to walk again. And people who were blind who started to see. And there were so many miracles that I was so shocked and amazed to hear of. And to be honest, all of these miracles, I experienced that, when I was on the Zoom mission. But I had forgotten that grace, and I had forgotten what it meant to be really a missionary and a co-worker of Christ. So when I heard this, I was so encouraged, and I had a really big fire building up in me. So I was like, you know what, I have to sign up. I really want to sign up. So I texted Director Jeff, and I was like, hey, Director Jeff, do you think it's too late for me to sign up? And he was like, and I was pouring my heart into this text message. I was like, I really received a heart for this. But then Director Jeff was like, no, you can't sign up. It's too late. You already missed so many trainings. And he was like, you can sign up next time. And I was devastated, kind of. I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, I was really shocked that he said no, to be honest. But then God gave me so much bravery. I don't even understand how, but I was like, you know what, you need to pray again. Please, can you pray again and reconsider? And he was like, okay, fine, I'll pray one more time. And then he was like, okay, you can do it. You can join. And in that moment, I was like, wow, God is so real. He is working through Director Jeff. And that's how I came to sign up. And that's how I came to join the mission. So yeah, before the first day of mission, we had actually a meeting with only the workers, right? And we had a meeting with Upendar, Teacher Wanje, Alice, Zaman Raju, and a bunch of other workers. And in that meeting, I was in the car because I was going from LA to home, and I was listening into the Zoom call, right? And all I hear is oh, Alice, Sister Alice, can you repeat that again? And then Upendar is just he was having a really hard time translating. And I was like, oh man, what are we gonna do? My brain was I was sitting next to my mom, right? And I'm like, Oma, I have no idea what we're gonna do. Did you hear this? And then Alice would be oh, soldiers guarded the tomb, right? And then in the translation, you hear Yesu Cristo. And we're so surprised. We're what is going on, right? So I didn't really have a lot of faith, and I was I didn't know, how God would work through our team, especially because in all of my previous India missions, I always had a really, really strong translator. They were always so good and so fluent, but this time we had translator problems, right? So on the first day, when we were sharing our gospel and sharing the testimony, for me, I was so tired, and I was so physically exhausted. I think it was so much spiritual warfare, right? But I was it was really chaotic too. There was translators interrupting each other, and there were sometimes there were Wi-Fi connections among the workers too. And I was how is this gonna work? How is this? How are we even going to preach the gospel? But as I shared the gospel, and I was raise your hand, right? There's that moment when they're translating, and there's a moment when it's I'm just the only one raising my hand. But as I saw all of them raise their hand again, and as I saw all of them, confess that they would believe in Jesus, the amount of joy that you feel in that moment, it's indescribable, right? And in that meeting, we ran out of time, so we couldn't really pray a lot for healing and anything, but we prayed 5 minutes, and we couldn't even hear all of the prayer requests. We just prayed 5 minutes, and in those 5 minutes, we just lifted up anyone who was sick, anyone who was demon-possessed, anyone who had any prayer requests at all. And as soon as it was over, we asked, hey, does anyone have any testimony to share? And an old lady, she stood up, and she was like a grandma, right? And she was like, I had excruciating nerve pain for a couple years. And she ate like medication every single day. But as soon as we prayed for her, the pain left. Like in those 5 minutes, like God works so mightily. He's so crazy, he's so creative. And so many other people like stood up and shared about how they had abdominal pain and that was healed, how they were delivered from their anxieties, from mental illnesses and everything. And in that moment, like I was so humbled, you know, like how can I think to rely on my own strength? How can I think to rely on what I believe to be like the proper like worldly way, you know? I was looking so much at like the logistics. I wasn't looking towards God at all. And that was when God really humbled me. And at the end, like as I was really reflecting, like I was like, hey guys, like I was so tired during the entire like thing, you know? I was like yawning sometimes and I was so embarrassed, right? But my team really encouraged me and they shared, you know, like, Alice actually shared the verse, like, my grace is made perfect in your weaknesses. Sorry. But yeah, that really spoke out to me, and I was like so touched by just what she shared. And yeah, so basically first day over, and then second day, right? Second day, like I slept a lot, so I actually was like really prepared, I felt like. And then we actually had Salman Raju, like the fluent pastor, leave. So we only had Upandar. And we were, for me, I was even more worried. Like I feel like I shouldn't have been worried, but I was even more worried. I was like, oh man, like what are we gonna do, you know? But in that moment, like when that meeting took place, God worked so mightily. Like I feel like God gave Upandar like heavenly wisdom and interpretation of like languages because he was translating our like English like so fluently. Like there was no pause, there was no like, oh, can you say that again? Like everything was just so smooth and so peaceful. And I was so blessed by like listening to just him like speaking, and yeah. And also, like, of course, there were like a lot of miracles, a lot of healings, you know. People actually had, I think it was like a uterine pain that left, and like a lot of people were healed from a brain blood clot, and there were like a lot of healings, right? And like in that moment, I really experienced like the power of God. You know, God is not limited in our own understanding. He's not limited by like physical limitations, you know? Like even through Zoom, God is so creative. He still works. Like even through a tiny voice on a screen, like God is still working and pouring out his power. And because of that, I was so blessed. And like a greater blessing also that I received was through a lot of the intercessors, like Yeji and like Joseph Kim and like Sean, Hyunmo and like Isaac and like so many people, like they were here like praying for us throughout the entire meeting. And that meeting ends at 11:30 at night. And I was like beyond kamdong, like I was beyond words. I was so speechless and I was like so grateful. And like to be honest, like I had a really hard time you know, having an encouraging heart towards the youth because I just felt like it was so spiritually broken and like spiritually dead. But God showed me that like a real family is here, that we are the start of a revival in this youth. And that group of believers, that group of intercessors really became to me a foundation and really became like so blessing. And I was so like thankful for all of them. And I really encourage you all to also go on missions, like whether it be through the India Zoom or like even an evangelism team. There's so much blessing that God is pouring out, especially in these last days. So yeah, please join, and thank you so much.